Hello all, welcome to Naresh IT Labs. In this video, we'll be discussing about what is static and non-static in Java and how we can use static and non-static concept on a method level. So let's go into Eclipse and I'm creating a new class, and the name of this class I am naming it as static and non-static. So public static void main I'm selecting, click on finish button. So now first let us see how we can define a method which is static. Public static. As we are using a keyword called static here, so that is the reason this method would be a static method. Void. Let's say I have a method called addition. So inside this, I'm performing number 1 is equal to 10, number 2 is equal to 20, and result. Result is equal to number 1 plus number 2. System.out.println result. So whenever you are using a keyword called static in your method, that becomes a static method. Now, how do you define a non-static method? Public. Do not write static, that becomes a non-static method. Void multiplication. And here I am performing multiplication of two numbers. I'm multiplying number 1, which is 10, with number 2, which is 10, where I'm going to store the output inside the result. Result is equal to number 1 into number 2, and here I am printing system.out.println result. So whenever you use a keyword called static in your method, that becomes a static method. Whenever you are not writing static, that becomes a non-static method. Now whenever we have a static method, we can call that method directly inside the main method, addItion. So if you have any static methods in your project, you can call that static method directly wherever you want. So that is what the concept of your static is all about. So here, static methods can be called directly wherever we need. So here we are defining the method in the same class and we are calling it in the same class. There would be some cases where you will define the static method in another class and you may need to call it in this class. So new, I'm creating a new class for it. Let me say other class. So just for our easy understanding sake, I'm giving this name other class. So here I'll just click on finish button because I'm not going to execute any code inside. I'll just define the method there. So finish. And here I'm defining a method public static void login. So here I'm passing two arguments, string username, string password. So for now, I'm just printing the username and password. Username entered is. So I'm just printing the username that we are passing. Now system.out.println password entered is password. System.out.println clicked on login button. So this is a static method defined in another class. Now this method, I want to call it inside this static and non-static. How do we call? So we need to call with the help of class name. So why we need to call with the help of class name? Because I have multiple classes here. How the code here you are writing, how it would know that there is a method which is available inside this other class. So if you give the class name, then you can access this static method. So here I am showing the other way of calling a static method that is defined in another class. To do this, what is the class name? Other class is the class name dot login, where you are passing the username. Let's say username is Naresh and the password that we are entering is test1234. Now if you run the program, it would display the addition of two numbers. Now this will go and pull this login method which is there inside other class, and then it will execute that code. So this is the way how you can call a static method in Java. So static method can be called directly wherever we need to call. Now here I have a non-static method. This is a non-static method. And this is a static method. Now in order to call a non-static method, we cannot call it directly like your static method. Suppose, copy this method name, and if you try to call it directly, it will throw you error. It's throwing an error. So when you place your cursor here, it will tell you cannot make a static reference to a non-static method. That means you can call a static method directly, but we are trying to call a non-static method directly, which is not allowing us. So whenever you have a non-static method and you need to call inside a static method, so this is a static method, wherever you have a non-static method and if you need to call it inside the static method which is main, we can call it through reference. So we need to create the reference which is called object reference. So how do we create the object reference? So take the class name. This is your class name. So this is the class name. So class name space, give some variable name. Let me say as objref. Objref is the class name, is the reference name that I am giving. So class name followed with a variable name is equal to new. Again give the class name, open and close the half circle bracket with a semicolon. Now this is called class. This is called class. And this is called, I'm just giving the spaces for our readability sake. So this is called object reference. And this new static and non-static concept, this is called object. So when do we need to create this? Whenever we have a non-static methods, and if we want to call that non-static methods inside main method, we need to create a reference. So through this reference, objref dot multi multiplication we should able to see. So now if you run the program, it will go and execute this code. So it is multiplying 10 with 10, which is 100. Now, non-static methods. We can call a non-static methods inside main method using object reference. So this is all about static and again, before I wind up the video, suppose you have a non-static method inside another class. So here I have a non-static method. Non-static method. Suppose I have a non-static method public void logout. System.out.println clicked on logout link. Now suppose if you have a non-static method inside another class, how do I call it in another class? How you created a reference for this class, because this is a non-static method which is present in this particular class. So that is the reason we created a reference for this particular class. Now the non-static method is inside other class. If I have to call this non-static method which is there in other class, we need to create a reference for this. So take the class name. So here I am creating a reference. Other class OC is equal to new, again the class name. So even this object reference name, so in the real time, we will be following some naming convention. Always the object reference variable name we will give same as class name, but the first alphabet will be lowercase. So OTHER other class. So this is how we are creating a object reference. Same as class name, but the first alphabet will be lowercase. So other class dot log out. So run the program. Now you should able to see the method of logout which is called from other class. So this is the way how you can define a static methods and non-static methods inside the same class and other class, and how you can call it in Java. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.